Hello guys, welcome back to a video on the Stratus Forecast Weather channel. Boy, do we have a video guys for you guys today. It's going to be a very intense couple of days, and over the weekend it's going to be a very intense weekend as well. And I'm anticipating a high-end severe weather risk. This includes the potential for very damaging winds in excess of 75 miles per hour or higher, large hail, and the potential for a multi-day tornado outbreak. It'll be first targeting the Midwest and then eventually targeting the deep south and portions of the southeast. And then we also have a bunch of other things going on with space weather, and yeah, a whole lot's going on, so let's get right into it. So first we'll start out with the radar and satellite. So first we're dealing with our storm system already gathering its acts together back near Idaho. This is going to develop an area of low pressure over somewhere in the areas between the four corner states of Kansas, the Colorado area, and Nebraska. And with this being said, this area of low pressure is what's going to trigger all of this. So again, snow and mixed precipitation and some heavier rain bands and a bunch of lightning is already coming together in the western half of the country. Little very weak system pulling through the deep south and did deliver a few stronger storms over near Texas, but this is going to continue to move up to the east. And yeah, cloud cover is expanding in portions of the northeast. But yeah, let's get into the really intense stuff. Before we do that, we do have a lunar eclipse coming up for the United States overnight tonight in the early morning hours between about 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. There's potential for you to see a blood moon, also known as a lunar moon or a lunar eclipse, basically the same thing. Cloud cover or conditions will depend on whether or not you can see it. If you're across the country, I guess your best chance is going to be in the eastern half of the country, as much of the western half of the country is dealing with a storm system right now, but you're not going to have very long to view this entire lunar eclipse if you're experiencing cloud cover. So yeah, lots of stuff to get into as far as that goes. And on top of that, the auroras is also a possibility tonight. So not only with a lunar eclipse, you might even be able to see the aurora. It's kind of a coincidence there, but it's very extreme, and it's just a very good night to look out of skies tonight. We are looking at a KP4 index here, which is just under the threshold for geomagnetic storm conditions. But you can probably see them in much of the northern half of the states, including, Washington, Montana, parts of South Dakota and North Dakota, as well as Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and even parts of northern Maine. And depending on how intense these conditions get, it could even get extended a little bit farther north. But yeah, you can see the lunar eclipse and the northern lights tonight potentially in especially extreme northern areas of the United States. But your best chance is going to be right near the Canadian and U.S. border, and up in the upper plains is where your best place is going to be able to see them. All right, getting back into the other parts of the video. So again, we do have to deal with a multi-day severe weather threat. So first, it's going to be throughout today, which I do not expect a whole lot, but there's potential for a pretty low threat for both tornado, wind, and hail. Again, I would think the wind would be the biggest issue today. But I'm not exactly sure. But again, this marginal risk does extend through portions of Georgia, Mississippi, and Florida. Your tornado risk exists pretty much in southeastern Alabama, southwestern Georgia, and northwestern Florida. There's also a wind and a hail risk here for both areas, shaded in the color here. Basically in the same area this covers through northwestern Florida, southwestern Georgia, and southeastern Alabama. Now we get into the interesting stuff. So the next threat coming into tomorrow and through Saturday is going to be mostly a damaging wind-driven threat, but depending on if we can have any individual supercells that could develop, will determine on how elevated this tornado risk does get. But we do have a large enhanced risk of severe that extends all the way through the Midwest, all the way down to the deep south, since there's way too many states to really cover this. And then there's a marginal risk of severe that extends through the Great Lakes area all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And then obviously in portions, there's also that slight risk of severe that extends through the Great Lakes region, Ohio Valley, portions of the Midwest, down to the deep south, and all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And then newly, we have a moderate risk of severe weather, and depending on how intense this line of storms get, they may even issue a high risk. Obviously, the moderate risk is obviously a very rare risk, but a high risk would bring it to a whole nother level. And I'm not saying this for excitement, this is pure, this is what I enjoy doing. I enjoy predicting the weather. But anyways, that moderate risk, the most concerning part of this is the moderate risk of severe that exists right in the very center of the Midwest area. This covers portions of Iowa and Illinois, a portion of Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Missouri. So again, with this storm, the main threat is going to be damaging winds, but there will be the potential for some strong tornadoes. Again, obviously you can see here is a hatched risk, which means this is your significant area of severe weather. Just to kind of mark down things, here's all the cities. So again, the most concerning part of this all, obviously it's all concerning, but the most concerning part of this all is basically centered right in the Midwest, into portions of Iowa, especially southeastern Iowa, western Illinois, eastern Minnesota, eastern Missouri, northeastern Arkansas, western Tennessee, and northern Mississippi. Again, this is for damaging winds. Again, anywhere in this hatched area, wherever your town is, I don't have long to get all the towns, and I don't have the time to do that, but what I'm saying is this is going to be a very significant severe weather outbreak, and we're looking at a potential derecho. A lot of weathermen are not talking about this, but I do think this has the potential to be a derecho. Just due to the fact that just the dynamics of this storm, it has the potential to be a derecho. Tornadoes are also a high possibility in this. I'd say they're on the lower end unless if you can get individual supercells, but I mean it's all dependent on whether or not that happens or not. But you can really see tornadoes anywhere from about the Great Lakes region, back to parts of the Midwest and the portions of Minnesota that extends all the way down to the Gulf Coast areas. Mostly in Louisiana and all the way down through Mississippi and Alabama. But there's that large 10% hatch risk of tornadoes that exists through the center of the Midwest all the way down through portions of the Deep South. This includes, I'll try to name all the states, Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. And obviously you can see tornadoes anywhere in that green shaded. I just don't have time to get all the towns down. I mentioned the wind risk already, so here's the hail risk. The hail risk is also a big thing with this entire storm system. The center of it will be centered probably right in eastern portions of Missouri, southwestern Illinois, western Kentucky, extreme northwestern Tennessee, and extreme northeastern parts of Arkansas. But you can also see the hatch risk extends all the way back to portions of Iowa, all the way down to portions of Mississippi. And this goes as far east and this goes as far west as about the Springfield area in Missouri, and as far, just a little bit farther east in the Springfield area, and then western Kentucky as well, where this expands to. So if you're in these areas, you need to have a way to receive weather alerts, because this is a very significant severe weather outbreak potential that's coming up right now. And there's the potential for strong tornadoes, a extreme damaging wind threat that could lead to widespread, if not numerous, like a whole ton, like just a complete widespread area of damaging winds. I mean, we could see a lot of reports with this, and damaging hail as well is also a possibility with this as well. Saturday is the day to be concerned, Saturday into Sunday. I mean, I don't know any specifics about this, but I've heard a lot about it. So again, Saturday is also a day to be very weather aware. This is just a very significant day as well. This is likely going to be a major tornado outbreak, is what I'm hearing. So again, if you're anywhere stated in this enhanced risk or a moderate risk, you need to be aware and just have ways to receive alerts. So again, the moderate risk of severe weather is basically centered right in the deep south and southeast areas of eastern Louisiana, central and south central portions of Mississippi, and central and west central parts of Alabama. And then Florida is also in, extreme northwestern Florida is also in this as well. There's also an enhanced risk, so you can really see severe weather all the way back to portions of the Great Lakes area, northeast, Ohio Valley, the river, back to the southeast, and even towards the deep south as well. So this is going to be a very significant severe weather day as well. There's potential for even violent tornadoes. And this is why everything is so significant. A 45% risk of severe weather, which is a hatched risk of severe weather, does exist in the same areas with that moderate risk and that enhanced risk. You just need a way to receive alerts. This is not a good situation at all to be in. And if you thought we were done yet, no, we are not. Sunday into Monday, there's also another severe weather risk that extends through Pennsylvania all the way down to Florida and covering pretty much the entire eastern seaboard, except for portions of northeast New England and central and south central parts of Florida. So again, this is also a day to stay weather aware. I do think, just due to what I was seeing yesterday, this is going to be mostly a damaging wind threat, but there's also potential for a few tornadoes as well. Alright, enough of that. So I don't want to make this an ultra long video, so I'm not going to go deep into the future. I'm just going to go basics. I'll give you like a very small portion of the video of the latest trends and the weather forecast going past this severe weather outbreak. But it looks like Friday into Saturday, it's going to be an overnight situation most likely. We're dealing with severe thunderstorms. We're going to be looking at a bow-echoing segment that extends through portions of southern Minnesota all the way down through portions of northern Arkansas. And this is going to continue, and as that moves off, it's going to create some individual supercells which do develop here, and this is a greater risk of tornadoes here. And then behind the system, it's going to basically pull apart, and there's going to be another area of low pressure kind of develops down here. It's a broad area of low pressure in this picture, but it does look like more linear but scattered linear thunderstorms is going to be a possibility. But as we go into the day on Saturday, they become a little bit more, individual. And as they continue on, it continues on, and then as I mentioned on Sunday into Monday, it looks like it's going to be mostly a damaging wind threat, but there's potential for a few tornadoes because of the squall line just not, very showing up, and then this goes to the northeast with maybe some gusty wind and some heavier downpours. But that's really that. Here's the GFS model. Again, much of the same thing. It looks like we're going to have a bow echoing segment happening somewhere in the, somewhere starting in Iowa, portions of Missouri as well is just where this is going to start. It's going to continue to move up from the northeast right through the Great Lakes region as it kind of falls apart. But then you're going to starting to see some convection happening down in the deep south. And this is going to erupt into a bunch of thunderstorms. And this will continue on. And then, as I mentioned, it looks more of like a squall line happening through the mid-Atlantic and southeast. So this would be, in this kind of situation, it would be more of a damaging wind threat. But there's also potential for a few embedded tornadoes. And then that continues. And the one thing I'm noticing with the GFS model in the year tomorrow, not so much, is that I'm seeing gusty winds and stronger winds across the northeast, especially into portions of the Maine area, and this continues with heavy rain and wind, and that is how this entire thing unfolds. Alright, so we are going with the HRRR model for this part of the video. We're going to go switch over to the NAM model. So here we're going to go over the severe weather potential. So here we go. Through the overnight hours, you're going to start seeing a line of thunderstorms start developing, and it's already got that bow echo happening with it through portions of central Iowa and down through portions of northern Missouri. And this continues to form a bow echoing segment through southern Minnesota all the way down through central Missouri, and it continues on, and then we could see some really intense thunderstorms on the southern end of this where you're seeing a very dark red, so we could see some very intense thunderstorms through portions of northeastern Missouri. This continues on, and then we're going to see some individual cells popping up ahead of this line. This is where your tornado risk could be a little bit elevated. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we start seeing individual cells firing off. And then just look at all those thunderstorms. This down here is the most concerning part of it all. Since I'm seeing all these individual cells, I'm thinking the tornado threat is going to be I'm thinking the tornado threat is going to be a lot higher down here, which is why they've already issued a moderate risk of severe weather, just due to the fact that we're already seeing with shorter range models that we're going to be dealing with a significant tornado threat here. Alright, so I don't want to waste the entire video, so I'm going to tell you, so pretty much with these line of thunderstorms, you're dealing with dew points around 50 to 60 degrees and sometimes even lower, so it's going to be mostly a damaging wind threat here. But as you go far to the south, you get into 55 to 65 degrees dew point, from what I can remember. And then that's the main threat there. So if you get more into the 55 to 65 degree dew points, you're dealing with more of a damaging wind threat and a tornado threat. So I would say Iowa, any areas that are in the Midwest and going off to the north and east towards the Great Lakes region, you're going to be dealing with more of a damaging wind threat with the potential for several embedded tornadoes, because I've seen this situation before. So that's going to be more of a damaging wind threat. I do think in portions where this continues to move off and you start to see some scattered thunderstorms starting to develop, I think your greatest severe weather risk for tornadoes is going to be basically, southeastern portions of Missouri, and through the Ohio Valley and through portions of the southeast, pretty much as far south as Tennessee. And then, as you can see there, any areas you're seeing these thunderstorms into this kind of general area here, you're going to have the potential for some individual cells. So as you continue through Saturday and Sunday, we start seeing individual cells start to develop, and this is what you don't want to see. As it continues on through Saturday, you start seeing individual cells starting to pop up on the radar, and there could be a few intense. I'm going to zoom in on this just to give you a general idea. Alright, so this is Friday into Saturday, right? So we go into Saturday. Early morning hours, there could be a little bit of tornadoes right here. They just don't look overly impressive. There could be a little bit of tornado threat since these are individual cells through Mississippi and Louisiana. As we continue on through the day, though, you're going to start seeing convection happening. And here we go with a lot of individual cells. This is why the tornado threat is a lot higher here. And then we get very powerful cells starting to develop into portions of Mississippi and Alabama. And any of these cells that look really strong here, or individual cells that look overly strong here, is where you're going to best see the potential for the tornado risk. And it's going to continue to go through the day on Saturday. And just look at all these thunderstorms. And as we continue on, it shows one individual very powerful thunderstorm in the portions of southwestern portions of Alabama. I would pay attention to this very closely, because if this ends up happening, this could be, just due to the fact the dynamics we're dealing with, like I'll get onto the specifics, but this could be a very powerful storm here, which could lead to even a long track tornado, just given the situation that we're in. But a lot of individual cells, and it continues on, and it could be a long track tornado threat. So there you're looking at it there. All right, now we're going with the NAM model. Alright, so we're going with the NAM model now. So here is the reflectivity. It's not going to be as impressive, but it will give us a general idea. So again, you're going to start seeing thunderstorms happening here. I'm not sure what this day is. I'm assuming it's like, early morning to midday, or early morning hours. As you continue on, it's very blurry, but you're going to start seeing storms starting to develop in portions of southern Mississippi and southern Alabama. As this continues on through the day, through the overnight hours on Saturday and Sunday, you're going to start seeing a lot of individual cells starting to develop through Mississippi, Alabama, and through Georgia. I think the highest severe weather risk is going to be basically anything, kind of general in this area. Kind of anything in this area. And it will also go down to the Gulf Coast. So probably south-central portions of Mississippi, same for Alabama, and down to the Gulf Coast and through Florida as well. I think there's potential for a few individual cells. And this continues on, it becomes more of a damaging wind threat as it continues on. Here's the Cape. So again, it looks very strong here. It's obviously a very high end. I'm mostly focused on Saturday just due to the fact that there's potential for a tornado outbreak. But also the dynamics of the other storm, or the same storm up in the Midwest. I'm just saying it's going to be more of a damaging wind threat, but there's going to be potential for several tornadoes, and some of those could be on the stronger side. Alright, so here we go. So I think Friday overnight hours could be interesting. We are dealing with 1 to 2,000 joules per kilogram in central Mississippi, where those storms are already starting to develop. Remember that? And then I think, as I mentioned before, it's going to be south-central portions of Mississippi. And then just look at these tornado parameters, honestly. I think it might start fading through Georgia or through Mississippi, but again, south-central, basically central and southern parts of Mississippi, and same goes for Alabama. So basically, right where I kind of circle it, basically that's a general area. So that's what we're looking at here. So that's your Cape index. Here's the wind shear. So as we go, it's very intense, very strong. We're dealing with, 60 to 70 knot winds, even stronger at times. As this continues on, we still have a very strong jet stream with up to 60 to 70 knots and pockets of higher than that. And this continues through, and just look at that powerful jet stream. 60s and 70s, still 50 to 70 impressive wind shear. So there's plenty of wind shear to really intensify these storms. All right, so here we go with the supercell composite. Just look at this impressive. Friday to Saturday through the deep south. Now we're going to the southeast, and it really intensifies through Mississippi. And then we get another burst of energy. Look at that energy. Wow, that's insane. So I really think this is not a good situation to be in right now. So again, I think there's potential for some very significant tornadoes here. Just given what I'm seeing here. And this is going to be through central Mississippi, and it will continue through Alabama. I think the best chance to see any tornadoes is going to be kind of central Mississippi and portions of south-central Mississippi as well, and southern Mississippi, and then basically to about the central line, basically the middle line of Alabama before this thing kind of weakens out, but it gets impressive later on Monday as well. Alright, so now we're going to look at the dew points. This is the amount of moisture in the air. So it looks very intense. Already Friday and Saturday we're dealing with high dew points between 60 and 70 down the Mississippi River Valley. Then we get pockets of 60 to 70 degrees. This is when it gets interesting, okay, and not so good. So again, it starts in kind of basically central and east central portions of Louisiana. So continue through Mississippi, just look at these dew points, 60s and 70s, so very impressive dew points. As we continue on, this is why things are a little bit more elevated. I do even think if we get a few developing supercells down in the southeastern Louisiana and southern Mississippi, there's potential for even some very strong, intense storms down here, just given the dew points that we're seeing here. 70 to 72 dew points is very impressive. As it continues through Mississippi and Alabama, dew points easily 60 to 70 degrees. As we continue on through Georgia, 60 to 70 dew points is not a good sign, and then that continues through with still very impressive dew points. And it may not be as of a stormy day in portions of southern Florida, I'm assuming, but you're still going to be very sticky out there. And if there is enough instability, which there should be down here, there's potential for even a few thunderstorms that could fire up. I don't think they'll necessarily become severe, but I do think there's potential for, at least some thunderstorms. So actually, after looking at the reflectivity through Monday for portions of Florida, Sunday to Monday, there's actually potential that they could extend this marginal risk of severe weather and potentially even a slight risk of severe weather. I'll have to take a look at the tornado parameters even into northern Florida. That's as far as this model goes. So I'll have to take a look at the tornado parameters. Alright, so yeah, after looking at all the tornado parameters and everything like that, I think there's potential for even a marginal to even a slight risk of severe weather being issued for parts of northern Florida for some damaging winds, an isolated tornado or even a few tornadoes, and also the potential for some, I don't know about the hail situation, but I think a marginal risk and slight risk of severe weather could be issued for parts of northern Florida. I don't think an enhanced risk of severe weather is in play at this point, but I do think a slight risk is in play at least. So that's pretty impressive there. Alright, so since we already dealt with that, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what could be happening over the next couple of weeks. So we get this storm system to pull through with some gusty winds in the northeast. I will come up with another video tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do it. But I'll make a video for the northeast as well, because it does look like there's potential for some gusty wind and, some heavy downpours, but other than that, I don't see much happening. There might be enough cold air wrapped on the backside of this through portions of northwestern Maine that there could be some snow on the back end of this, but we'll have to see how that plays out. But then we could have another system already developing through the 18th and 19th that kind of pulls through with a little bit of snow, maybe a little bit of a snowstorm through the central plains back to the Great Lakes region, and then into the northeast and New England would be mostly, again, a heavy rain and potentially more gusty winds. And another system kind of through the 23rd with maybe some snow and mixed precipitation in the Great Lakes and then the northeast. And then we might have to see a bigger system. This has been a trend on the Earth model lately. The 25th could be a pretty decent sized storm with potential for a strong snow on the backside of this system, and then strong gusty winds and heavy rain from the southeast, northeast, and New England, and then that pulls through, and then maybe another system behind that, and then another system behind that which will go through the 28th. The temperature is also going to be a big problem as well. We're going to see a lot of melting snow in the northeast, so it could lead to flooding. It looks like we're going to have a big burst of 70 degrees with this front. It looks like some areas in Missouri, especially in the southeast and deep south, we could even get closer to 100 degrees in southwestern portions of Texas. And then it goes over to the northeast where we could easily get into the 50s and 60s. Another cold air behind that, but not for long. We do another warm up after that. And then it's that same general pattern, a cold up and then a warm up and then basically the same thing. Before we end off this video, I just want to look at the precipitation real quick. So there's going to be a lot of heavy rain with the system actually. So as we go through Monday, there's going to be a lot of heavy rain. And I think, a lot of these areas could receive as much as, 1 to 5 inches of rain, which will lead to flooding. And as we continue on, you'll just see pretty much the entire country is getting some sort of precipitation through the next couple of weeks. And into Texas, you'll get a few tenths of an inch of rain potentially into western Texas, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Alright, hopefully I covered everything. I think I did for the most part. So again, a lot of stuff in the future. We'll be live tomorrow and Saturday as well, and potentially even Sunday as well, just covering this multi-day severe weather outbreak. I think videos will return next week. Hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. And yeah, stay safe out there and stay weather aware as well. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.